Welcome back, TCS TV viewers. It is Chris Nichols here again from the camera store, and look at this, a brand new Pentax K-70 SLR. Now you might say, wait a minute, where's the disclaimer at the start? Well, I just don't know what to do with you Pentax users. Jordan and I are very frustrated. If we don't put a disclaimer, you guys tend to call us misinformed. And if we do put a disclaimer, that makes us into condescending. First off, Jordan and I are the first to agree that we are definitely but I think for this review, we're just going to play with the camera. We're going to let the chips fall where they fall, and you guys can come up with some new interesting words to call us. That would be fun. I mean, who else reviews Pentax cameras, all right? We are a small bunch, and yet we still love to do it faithfully. And that's because we're excited about their products. This K-70 is borrowing so much from the K1. I want to play with it and see where it fits in their lineup today. Now, before I get out here shooting with the K-70, I just want to get a little bit off topic here and talk about something that we get asked about a lot on the show. And that is, Chris, what camera bag is that you are carrying around today? Now, lately, I've actually been using this Route 73 gray messenger bag. I like it, it's stylish, and most importantly, $47. I mean, that's just such a killer price for a nice looking bag. And of course, in the past, I've even used the Ona messenger bags. Very, very nice, $175, but look at that, genuine leather, oh, beautiful stuff. Also a great casual messenger bag. But today I have a very exclusive fashion item. I have something I guarantee that nobody else does. This is a Fotima top load zoom bag, and look at that beautiful custom artwork. Butterflies and flowers donated by one of our customers. I'm gonna rock this today proudly. Now, the K-70 really is Pentax's entry into a more affordable SLR, and they've been kind of wishy-washy over the last few years with different designs. I mean, the K-50, the KS1, the KS2, you know, and they tried a whole bunch of stuff like taking away weather sealing and putting it back in and new designs. I mean, the KS2 especially turned off a lot of people. I always liked its sort of kind of sporty look, actually, but I guess orange bottom plates just, you know, don't really jive with the SLR community. But the K-70 represents a nice return to a classic-looking Pentax SLR. Very, very handsome body, quite compact looking, although it does have a very beefy grip, but I like the flash top, I like the overall look of it. It's a very simple, very safe, nice design. And it's not just about a beautiful design and an entry-level price tag. We've actually got a ton of features borrowed from their existing lineup. We have the 24 megapixel APS-C size sensor without aliasing filter. I'm excited to see what that's gonna do. But we've also got a lot of features like classic weather sealing from Pentax, the flip-out screen that the KS2 had. We've got the inbuilt stabilization that you'll find in cameras like the K1, as well as the multi-shot for incredible resolution. You know, back in the day, we'd review cameras and they had sensors that were all over the place from megapixel counts and everybody pushing for more and different manufacturers. And it's funny now, the age we live in, everybody has a 24 megapixel APS-C chip, and it's pretty much all made by one or two manufacturers. But you know, what is nice to see with Pentax is we've now removed the aliasing filter, and that's a nice move to get more resolution. And their processing has always been fantastic. I mean, Sony, Nikon, they've always done a good job at high ISO performance, but Pentax always seems to push it even a little bit further, and I like the results that we get out of it. So we're gonna test that out. Pentax also says this is a new sensor for them, and it promises to do better low light performance than the K3 II does. Now, another thing that Pentax have done with their sensors add a new phase detection system for better live view focusing. Pentax always did a great job with their cameras in live view, but this should be even better. So I'm going to test that out as well. Doing shots like this, you know, we all do this. We take pictures of bridges and stuff like that. It's always very important to try to get things nice and symmetrical and balanced, because you always notice if it's a little bit off. But the K-70's got this beautiful, basically 100% viewfinder. It's nice and bright. It is a penta prism, not a penta mirror like a lot of more affordable cameras. So just good clarity, good brightness and sharpness. And on top of that, of course, Pentax always put in that little level, which is really handy when I want to make sure that I'm totally vertical. So of course I'm standing over the beautiful Bow River and looking at a gorgeous stream running behind us, and no strap, because you know how much I hate straps. And I could probably drop this camera in the water because it's a Pentax. I might even survive. But more importantly, I'm worried about dropping this thing because of something I don't like about the K-70. And I didn't really like this on the K1 either, and that is the grip. Now, don't get me wrong, I mean, the grip is beautifully designed, it looks aggressive, it's got this great rubber contouring, and my front fingers are very, very happy wrapping around it. The problem is it's just too damn big. I can barely hold on, my thumb is just barely catching this lip, and although it keeps my fingers off the buttons, it's just always uncomfortable. I feel like I'm gonna drop it, or I've got to squeeze tighter to make sure that it's secure, especially because I don't like to use straps. And, you know, the thing is, Jordan loves this grip because he's got giant man hands. But for anybody else, all women and all men with smaller hands, you're going to be feeling left out. But for Jordan, he's super happy. All right, so I'm taking my beautiful portrait here of Jordan, heavily backlit under the bridge here. And I've even pushed the exposure down further just to really get those shadows in the bottom. And that's because Pentax have always done such a great job with their software. I can just get those shadows to come right back, very little excess noise. I mean, they control it so well, and we don't lose any sharpness. I mean, when it comes to image quality, Pentax just seem to squeeze as much as possible out of the sensors. And if you're looking for something that can handle landscapes, dynamic range, you know, high ISO at night photography, this is an excellent choice. So the shot that I've just taken of this businessman against this concrete, you know, the teeth, the metal, the hard, cold nature of it, the wires, almost bars, if you will, for the jail that he finds himself in. And yet me, the observer, trying desperately to reach the sky beyond him, the freedom that is there in front of us all and yet unreachable. The message of my photo, or some shit like that. Now, we've got the city skyline here, we got the train going by, and this is a great test for just resolution in the camera, and especially the pixel shift technology, which I actually really do like on the new Pentax SLRs. Got all these tiny windows and bars and details, and it's great to be able to zoom in on that. Any sort of landscape shot, this is going to excel, and basically Pentax is using its sensor shift technology to take 4 photos, mate them together. You get a lot of benefits. Very, very high resolution. You get extra color accuracy and more dynamic range. Now you got to break out your tripod, so keep that in mind. This is for still landscape shots, you know, any sort of architecture or detail, but it does an amazing job. It's not just a sales gimmick, you get beautiful resolution out of it. Even though Adobe is trying to support this, you are at the moment still stuck with Pentax's proprietary software, and it's not very user-friendly, but it is worth it when you can get your tripod out and get some nice detail for those landscape shots. Now, of course, you can't have all these amazing features at such a good price point without giving up something. And again, with Pentax on the K-70, that's the autofocus system. Basic 11-point system, you know, not very sophisticated for tracking moving subjects. Point to point is very decent. These sensors will focus down to -3 EV, but you know, you're still not going to get what the D5500 has, or even a lot of the new Rebels with more sophisticated autofocusing systems. And that's okay. I think Pentax is basically just saying, don't even worry about it here. We're not known for AF. And when it comes to the live view AF, it's very nice. Again, not a huge improvement over the old Pentax bodies, but they were already so good. I was, however, still a little disappointed in the Pentax K-70's ability to track moving subjects in live view. It seems that, you know, regardless of what lens I've been testing, the 20-40, the 18-135, it just still seems to lose that tracking very easily and then desperately try to focus on something else as quickly as possible. You're still going to find companies like Canon and Sony can deliver much better live view capability with tracking and continuous autofocus than the Pentax, you know, which is great for video, but you're not going to shoot video on this camera anyways. Now, the only other thing I'm finding is that autofocus point to point and continuous and in live view does seem to be with Pentax very dependent on the lens you're using. And the general rule of thumb is the newer the lens, the better it will focus. But keep that in mind. You're going to get a lot of variance based on what glass you're using. Now, video on the Pentax K-70, I know, it's just, it's not really going to blow you away, guys. I mean, Pentax now are kind of at the bottom of the heap because Fuji's really stepped up their game in that regard. You get some nice features on paper, but overall, if you can see here, you know, the movie's just a little soft still. You get more array. The digital stabilizer is still going to give you some yucky, wobbly stuff. I mean, overall, Pentax is just not competing in the video market. The 4K time-lapse, I mean, it's a nice feature. It's fun, and you can use slow shutter speeds to get nice, smooth-looking time lapses, but I would still recommend that you just do it yourself the old-fashioned way. Pentax has a great built-in interphotometer, so it's very easy to do that. But overall, I guess they're just letting video kind of go by the wayside. It's just not their forte right now. Now, although we've got a lot of great features from the K1 stuck into the K70, there are some things that we've noticed we're missing that we kind of thought were pretty cool. For example, things like having the sensor composition shift, where using the built-in stabilizer, you can actually move the sensor small amounts. It lets you recompose shots like a difficult macro where you're almost exactly where you want to be. Rather than pick up the whole tripod and put it down again, you can just shift the sensor. That was a nice touch. Or, things like the MTF setting where you get the most appropriate aperture for your lens chosen to get you the highest resolution possible. This is great when you're trying to maximize resolution, especially when we're talking about things like 24 megapixel sensors without aliasing or pixel shift resolution. Why not keep that in there? Now, the Pentax K70 is not really going to be made for sports or wildlife or anything, but actually I'm pretty impressed with its continuous shooting speed. 6 frames per second, and you're getting about 40 JPEGs in a row, or 10 RAW. I mean, that's not bad. It's perfect for capturing your kids or your pets running around or any sort of just family adventures. I don't know if it's because of the plastic body, although you still have that stainless steel chassis, or maybe it's just the design, but it is still pretty noisy when you shoot. Listen to this. Shakes a little bit, you get some noise, but overall, very impressive with the speed. Now, guys, one of the things I love about Pentax cameras is just that they also record in a DNG format for RAW if you want to. Super easy. I'm throwing this right into Lightroom. You can see I have a picture of a guy here on a Segway, easy to download. And speaking of Segways, why don't I just slip one in here? We don't normally do promotional offers on the show because we don't like to sell stuff on the show. And I'm still not selling you stuff. I'm just telling you guys about a really cool offer. If you're looking to get into Lightroom, which a lot of people love to use, and it's your first time using it, if you go to thecamerastore.com or check out the link below, Adobe is doing a 20% off on your subscription for Lightroom. That's a pretty big deal if you go through thecamerastore.com. Keep in mind, guys, I'm saying this because our audience is worldwide. A lot of people watching us all over the world, and this offer is worldwide, so I thought I'd throw it out to you. I'm just trying to save you some money, so you're very, very welcome. So let's just hypothetically talk about this extremely plausible situation. You're a TCS TV host out for the day taking some photos with your Pentax camera, and a disgruntled Pentaxian comes up to you, is very upset about the disclaimer and the way that you treat Pentax cameras, says you're a hypocrite for using a Pentax camera and that you've got obscenely large hands, and then decides to throw their beverage at you. Well, it's okay, because the Pentax K70 is fully weather sealed and by far the most rugged SLR at this price point in its class. I enjoyed using the Pentax K70. It becomes obvious when you start using it that you're actually getting a lot of camera here for your money and a ton of very powerful features, which I like. In fact, it begs the question, what does this do to the rest of the Pentax lineup of cameras? Because any camera similar to this price point or below is basically obsolete. This thing is just giving you such good bang for the buck. Even the K3 II, when you look at it, although it is a more rugged body, I guess with the magnesium build, I never mind a polycarbonate chassis. And this thing is durable, rugged, weather sealed, and all the rest. In fact, the K3 II is going to give us a bigger battery, which is nice, but not the end of the world. It's going to give us better autofocusing with more points and a bigger spread, but let's be honest, who uses Pentax for sports and wildlife that much, except, a few of you at home who are probably calling me an asshole right now. And on top of that, GPS, it's not a big deal. And in fact, you still have the Astro Tracer here. You could buy the optional GPS unit. They're giving you that as an option. So the K70 is really punching way above its weight. The K1 is going to, of course, give you the big, substantial full-frame sensor, but if you don't need that, guys, this is giving you a fantastic image quality package in this very small body. Now, of course, it's not a totally perfect picture. I mean, what are we giving up here? Autofocus capability and video. Those things aren't great here, but keep in mind that if you're the kind of photographer that doesn't really need blazing fast autofocus or video at all, this camera for under $1,000 is bar none going to give you the best image quality you'll find in an APS-C camera. We've always been doing these video reviews and it's always aimed at Pentaxians, but the fact is now, if you are looking at a Canon or a Nikon or a Pentax SLR and you want to get the best image quality possible for under $1,000, this is it right here, as long as you don't need the AF. You're also getting a rugged, dependable, ergonomic body as long as you've got large hands. And this is really an amazing thing for Pentax because up to this point, they've really been lagging behind. But now with the K1 and the K70, they're making just earnest strides at trying to earn users back to the Pentax line. And honestly, guys, if you enjoy good image quality, if that's one of the things you're really trying to get, these are the cameras for you to look at. Thanks very much for joining us. Don't forget, check us on Instagram, tweet us, talk to us, go to thecamerastore.com, check out that Adobe Lightroom promotion, and we will see you guys very soon with a brand new camera. Now, another thing that Pentax have done with their sensor, they've added Now another thing that Pentax